Hello everyone, welcome to the OneClass channel. My name is Marlon. I'm a second year student at the University of Waterloo studying chemical physics with a minor in math. Today I'm going to be going through some high school level and college level algebra problems. Be sure to check out the links in the description if you're in need of any extra homework help or would like some one-on-one tutoring. Okay, so for our first question, we'd like to figure out how to factor this expression. So we have been given x to the power of 4 minus 8x squared minus 9. So how we're going to deal with this is we're going to set this as a quadratic because you know how to deal with quadratics. And so if we set x to the power of 4 is equal to u squared, and we set that x squared is equal to u, we can rewrite this expression as u squared minus 8u minus 9. And then we can treat this using product sum, or we can use the quadratic formula. I'll explain how to do both. So first, for product sum just states that for the expression au squared plus bu plus c, I would like the sum to equal b and the product to equal ac. In my case, AC is going to be negative 9 and B is going to be negative 8. So what two numbers can I add to get negative 8 and multiply to get negative 9? And those two numbers are going to be negative 9 and 1. And so my solutions to this will be u squared minus 9 and u squared plus 1. Now I can confirm this using the quadratic formula that just states u is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. My b is negative 8, so this becomes 8 plus or minus the root of 8 squared, 64, minus 4 into negative 9 into 1, all over 2 by 1. So this will become 8 plus or minus the square root of 100 all over 2. And this will become 8 plus 10 over 2, so 18 over 2, and that is going to be 9. Or 8 minus 10 over 2, which is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. So I have the two solutions, u is equal to 9 and u is equal to negative 1, which when I isolate the 0 to one side, I get u plus 1 is equal to 0, and u minus 9 is equal to 0, which is exactly what I got using the product sum method. You can choose which one you'd like to use based off of your coefficients here. If the coefficients, it's easy to figure out what your two numbers would be in the product sum case, then go ahead and use that. But if it doesn't come to mind quickly, which would usually indicate it's complex valued or decimal, then go ahead and use the quadratic formula. It's the safest bet. It just takes a little bit more time than the product sum method. Okay, and so my solution to u squared minus 8u minus 9 is u plus 1 and u minus 9. Now I come back up here and I need to remember that u represents something. And so u represents x squared, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that right back in here. And I'll get x squared plus 1 and x squared minus 9. Okay, now, because the initial expression we're given is to the power of 4, that means that the order is 4, and I can expect 4 zeros. These could be real, these could be complex valued, it depends. And so in the end I should have 4 brackets when I factor it. And so currently I have 2, which means I'm looking for 2 more. I can already see here I have a difference of squares that I can deal with to separate into 2 brackets. Here, I wish I had a difference of squares, but I don't. Instead, I have addition. And addition usually indicates that we're going to get something complex valued in this case. So let's go ahead and do that. So for x squared minus 9, I'm going to apply the difference of squares, and that just states that a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b into a minus b. You can confirm this by just doing FOIL to expand it out. My apologies. So it'll become a by minus b, b by a, b by minus b, and that will become a squared minus ab plus ab minus b squared. These two cancel, of course, to form a squared minus b squared. So that's just a quick proof for that. And so now in our case, so in our case, we have, let me just erase this. Okay, so in our case, we have x squared minus 9, which is the same thing as x squared minus 3 squared. And so that means our a is x and our b is 3. So this will become x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 3. So we've split this into, x plus 3 by x minus 3, and this one we haven't dealt with, so we have x squared plus 1. You could technically leave it like that. When you add up all the powers of x, you still get the 4, but this isn't the completely factored down version, so let's go ahead and find that. And we're gonna apply quadratic because, as I said, I can already tell I'll have a complex valued solution, and so it's best to just use quadratic, as I mentioned before. And so for x squared plus 1, recall it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So in my case, I have a is 1, b is 0 because I don't have a bx, and c is going to be 1. So when I put that all into my quadratic formula, so negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is going to give me negative 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared. So the fact that there is no b is what is making it complex valued, and then the c is positive. So it's going to leave minus 4 by 1 by 1 all over 2 by 1. So this is the 0, it's going to leave the plus or minus the square root of negative 4. So complex valued, I'm taking the square root of a negative number, all over 2. I need to remember the property of square roots that just states that the square root of a times b is the same thing as the square root of a multiplied by the square root of b. So I'm going to apply that and pull out that 4. So I can get plus or minus the square root of 4 times the square root of negative 1 all over 2. Square root of 4 is 2. So plus or minus 2 root negative 1 is a special number that we call I over 2. The 2's cancel, leaving plus or minus I is equal to my x in the case of x squared plus 1. And so this means that x squared plus 1 is the same thing as x plus I, x minus I. So yes, it's technically a difference of squares, but your second number is negative 1 squared is another way to look at it. And so let me just explain the quick way to get to this without having to do the quadratic formula. So I have x squared plus 1, and I recall that the difference of squares says a squared minus b squared. And so I can rewrite this in this form as x squared minus negative 1, right? And then this would have to be a square. And so I can write it as x squared minus the square root of negative 1 squared. So in that case, what I have is x squared minus I squared. And as I said, it will just become x plus I, x minus I, and that's purely according to the difference of square rules and just recognizing that this plus 1, I can rewrite it in a form of -1, figure out what squared is -1, and so it's the square root of -1 squared. And so that leaves me with x squared minus I squared, so x plus I and x minus I. And so lastly, we're just going to want to put this all together. So as I said here, I have now found that this is equal to x plus I, x minus I. And so I'm just going to come all the way down here and write a clear solution that x to the power 4 minus 8x squared minus 9 is going to be equal to x plus I, x minus I. We found x plus 3, x minus 3. And that's going to be it for this question.